That Saturday unfolded slowly, a day of quiet ease. I sat at home, scrolling through my phone, and saw a missed call from Lewis. He left his headphones at my place after last night and needed them back. I saw it as a minor issue, so I took the headphones from the table and texted him I'd come by. Lewis lived nearby, a simple trip across town. His mother Laura was usually home, but she stayed to herself, often in bed. I only considered her beauty, given her age. She seemed to be in her early 40s, yet looked no older. She was simply Lewis's mother to me. That's all. It ends here. I knocked on the door, expecting Lewis. Instead, it was her. She opened the door, fresh from the shower, wrapped in a robe, hair still damp. She looked surprised, yet unashamed. I looked away quickly, unsure of where to focus. Is there a tension in the air, palpable and sharp? "Hey, Gary," she said. "Lewis has stepped out briefly. What motivated your arrival?" I hesitated briefly, then raised the headphones as a gesture of goodwill. "I dropped these off. I didn't realize you were occupied." She laughed softly and tucked a damp strand of hair behind her ear. "I'm not busy," she said, indifferent. "Just finished showering. Would you like to come in for a moment?" I hesitated briefly, uncertain, but ultimately stepped inside. She was familiar, yet everything felt changed. She was a steady, nurturing presence. I didn't expect to feel this way about someone. We sat in the living room. She handed me a drink. The conversation started off casual. As we talked, I noticed her revealing more than I anticipated. She reflected on life and the changes surrounding her. Amidst the crowd, she often felt a profound solitude. For some time, I felt disconnected from my closest friend's mother. It was just us, sharing a true moment. Her gaze implied an interest in my words. That was the moment I transformed. I began to view her in a new light. She was more than just Lewis's mother. She smiled, soft and mysterious. "Gary, you've changed significantly. It feels unreal," she said. "I remember you and Lewis playing around the house as kids." I wasn't sure what to say, so I nodded slightly. A new energy sparked between us. Unvoiced, yet unmistakably felt. A spark lingered, a quiet tension, yet its meaning eluded me. I realized I wasn't ready to go. She stood and entered the kitchen. I followed. She walked by, and her scent lingered, fresh and delicate. For a brief moment, she was free from the weight of being Lewis's mother. She felt like a person experiencing genuine emotions, not merely a parent. "Thank you for coming," she said, turning to look at me. "I needed to talk to someone today." I gave her a small smile, warmth spreading in my chest. I said anytime, but as I left, I sensed a shift between us. An unspoken tension lingered, uncertain of its destination. Our next encounter with Laura was unexpected. "I encountered you in an aisle while gathering items for dinner." She held a jar of marinara sauce, studying the label with a furrowed brow. That resonated with me. How did I overlook her natural beauty? It was more than just her looks. Her movement exuded quiet assurance. She held a knowledge beyond our grasp. I didn't expect to see her, and honestly, I didn't know how to respond. We haven't spoken much since that strange morning with the towel and headphones. That day struck a chord with me. Her grin and gaze left a lasting impression. I brushed it off as an isolated incident. Then she looked up and saw me. "Gary." She spoke softly, her smile steady and welcoming. Her voice instantly brought comfort. I returned the smile, trying to stay relaxed. "Hi, Laura. Your presence here is unexpected." She responded, gathering a few items for dinner, gesturing to her cart. "Is there something you require?" Straightforward inquiry. It grew into a complete conversation. We discussed food, the weather, and other trivial matters. Yet, underneath, a pulse of something profound lingered. A quiet tension lingered in the air. Brief glances, subtle smiles. Then, unexpectedly, she asked, "Are you free tonight?" She spoke casually, as if it held little significance. She was clearly probing. I hesitated to respond. I shrugged my shoulders. "Just staying home, keeping it quiet." She offered a slight smile. "Lewis is with his friends tonight. I thought about making dinner. Come over. Company would be nice." The offer surprised me entirely. I politely declined. What more is there to discuss after everything from Lewis? Her words left little room for refusal. Before I could hesitate, I found myself saying, "Yes, sure." That was it. I was unaware of what lay ahead. Later that evening, as I walked her home, anxiety gripped my chest. A buzz stirred in my chest, an unexplainable feeling, as if I was on the brink of an unexpected entrance. Her house welcomed me, as it always did. The scent of home-cooked food filled the air, creating a warmth that was inviting. Laura stood in the kitchen, humming quietly as she stirred the pot on the stove. I stood at the doorway, watching her quietly. That's when it hit me. The woman before me was not the Laura I remembered. She looked unchanged, yet there was a newfound authenticity in her presence. "Sit down," she said, glancing back. "Dinner is nearly done." I took a seat in the kitchen chair, masking my nerves. She moved through the kitchen with a quiet confidence, as if it were her rightful place. I sat quietly, searching for understanding within myself. It was more than her appearance or her calm demeanor. It was the way she affected me. I felt like I was more than just her son's friend. We ate, and the conversation flowed. No awkward silences, no forced small talk. We discussed life and how rarely it aligns with our expectations. She reflected on her earlier years, expressing a longing for the thrill of spontaneity. She acknowledged that Lewis's frequent absences had created a pattern. Her voice was harsh as she spoke. She had been concealing her true feelings for years, insisting all was well when it wasn't. I heard. I offered no valuable advice or profound thoughts. I nodded and listened. I sat in silence, observing. Her eyes sparkled with intensity when she felt strongly about something. Her laughter felt genuine. She had become more than Lewis's mother. She was a woman. She possesses her own thoughts, feelings, and life. "Thank you," I said as we finished eating and I started clearing the dishes. She smiled, and for an instant, I saw something profound in her gaze. "I'm glad you came," she said. "I haven't had a meaningful conversation in a while." I nodded slightly, unsure of what to say. We shared the same thought. A shift exists between us, unspoken yet palpable. As I tried to leave, she embraced me. It was simple, calm, and enjoyable. She gave me a warm, thoughtful hug that lingered with me. "Take care, Gary," she murmured quietly. I felt disoriented as I approached my car. That night felt ordinary, yet it stirred something within me. I can't put it into words. She acted within acceptable limits. Her gaze and attention conveyed a sense of authenticity between us. A unique bond. I had visited Lewis's house countless times, but this felt different. I regret how often it occupied my mind afterward. I attempted to forget it. I pretended nothing had happened. A few days later, Lewis called to see if I wanted a drink. I thought leaving would help me think clearly. I entered the bar and saw Laura at the counter with some friends. She saw me, smiled, and waved. I waved back instinctively. Her smile was calm, carrying a warmth that hadn't been there before. An unspoken tension stirred within me. "Hey, Gary," she said as I approached. "Your presence tonight caught me off guard." I shrugged, attempting to appear indifferent. "Just spending time with Lewis. I didn't expect to see you here." She chuckled softly. "I intend to reconnect with old friends. It's been some time since my last night out." Her gaze held mine for a moment too long. The tension returned, just like that. A quiet tension lingers between us. Ever present, hidden yet close. I should have stepped back. Should have said evening and gone with Lewis. I chose not to. I chose to sit beside her. We spoke. We shared a moment of laughter. Acted as if it were completely normal. Lewis arrived and joined us. We sat together, reminiscing about school, old memories, and the silly things we once did. Amid the noise, my thoughts drifted away. Each glance from Laura struck me. The change. That thing. Laura's laughter and glances stirred something within me. Something I didn't fully understand. We felt the weight of a secret, unspoken between us. At one point, Lewis stood to fetch another drink, leaving only the two of us at the table. I didn't intend to speak, yet the words emerged. "Laura, how have you been?" She hesitated. Her smile dimmed, revealing a glimpse of something unguarded in her eyes. "I'm fine," she replied quietly. "Lately, loneliness has settled in." Her honesty surprised me. She revealed a side I hadn't anticipated. More than just Lewis's mother. "Yes," I nodded in response. "I see that. It can be difficult." She nodded silently, and we sat together in stillness for a moment. It was fine. It felt calm. I wanted to offer words to ease her burden. The words failed to arrive. I gazed at her, questioning the sincerity of her words. Maybe she was suggesting something more profound. Lewis brought our drinks, and the moment passed. Yet, something inside me shifted. That night, I saw Laura differently. She felt more than a friend's parent now. A unique light enveloped her now. A dangerous type. When it was time to go, I walked Lewis to the car. My mind lingered on that brief exchange with her. What did she mean by lonely? Did she feel uninterested? Or was she quietly asking for something deeper? I came home and collapsed on the couch, replaying the night in my mind. That meal. It was a revelation. Her eyes spoke volumes. I understood then. This was a significant night. Something deeper existed between us. Words left unsaid. I was drawn into it, despite my wishes. I felt lost in my emotions. The next few days were burdensome. The bar lingered in my mind, especially Laura's openness. Her quiet acknowledgement. Her gaze held mine, searching. A heaviness lingered between us. The feeling lingered, despite my efforts to dismiss it. I told myself it was insignificant. It was merely a singular occurrence. I understood more. Lewis and I were always close. He was my closest friend. Recently, I felt my thoughts drifting even during our time together. Go back to her. Go back to Laura. I loathed that part of me. I loathed the persistent thoughts. She smiled faintly. Her demeanor spoke volumes. She felt changed. On Saturday, I decided to clear my mind. I called Lewis to suggest we go to the park and shoot some baskets. It feels familiar. Moving my body might calm my mind. Upon my arrival at the court, Lewis was practicing his shot. He glanced up and smiled upon seeing me. Finally, "Text, you are late," he said, handing me the ball. I smiled and said I had to handle something. We fought for the next hour. They were laughing, exchanging insults, and trying to surpass each other. My focus was elsewhere. I was elsewhere. Warm, soft, and confusing. We paused, sitting at the edge of the court. Lewis asked, "Do you think my mother is okay?" He wiped his brow and glanced at me. I was confused by the question. "What do you mean?" I asked. "She's been distant lately." He said this while scanning the pavement. "Different this time. Something feels off. I can't tell if she's stressed. I sense she's facing a struggle." That struck deeper than I expected. Laura always seemed composed and unwavering, never showing doubt. Maybe I was wrong. I was unaware. I spoke softly. "You discussed it with her?" He declines. "No. Each time I try, she dismisses it. I sense she's struggling, but I don't want to intrude." I felt lost for words. A part of me wished to be honest, to share my feelings and observations with him. The change in us both. I couldn't. Still waiting. Maybe never. She may need space. I volunteered, aiming for a casual vibe. He mumbled, "Maybe." I felt the weight of his voice. He didn't believe it. We finished the game and returned to his apartment. My gut stayed tight the whole time. It felt like I was moving toward an inevitable end. We stepped inside, and she stood there. Laura sits on the couch, flipping through a magazine. She looked up, smiling, as if all was well. "Hello, everyone," she said, but I noticed it. Her eyes reflected weariness. She held herself stiffly. I understood she was acting a role. "Hey, Mom," Lewis said, sitting beside her on the couch. "Are you okay?" I glanced at her, questioning. Laura nodded after a moment. "It's been a long week." She dismissed it, as if it held no weight. I avoided confronting her, unsure of how to approach it. I felt my heart racing, so I headed to the kitchen. I needed a moment to breathe, to escape the heaviness in the air. As I reached for a glass of water, footsteps echoed behind me. Laura lingered in the doorway, arms crossed. "Gary," she said softly, her tone steady and clear. "Can we speak briefly?" I turned, taken aback. "What's going on?" She entered and gently shut the door. As she drew near, my chest tightened. "Thank you. One more night." She spoke, her eyes averted, and it meant everything to me. I swallowed her words, more painful than I anticipated. I agreed. "I'm here if you need to talk." She nodded slowly. For a moment, silence enveloped us. A thick silence enveloped us, charged with unspoken words. She shifted the focus, saying, "Lewis is a great kid, you know. He has faced challenges, but his heart remains kind." I nodded once more, uncertain of the direction ahead. Her gaze lingered on me for a moment longer. The spark I once felt has returned. It vibrated between us, taut and unyielding. I responded softly, "He truly does." She smiled, yet there was an unspoken depth to it that eluded me. I wondered if she shared my thoughts, and for a moment, I thought about asking her. I nearly asked what was happening, but I held back. I stood in silence with her, unsure of the next step. She concluded softly, "Thank you again, Gary." "Whenever," I replied, but I sensed my words had changed. A week has gone by since that night in the kitchen. The conversation was quiet, yet it lingered in my mind. Each encounter with Laura changed the atmosphere, charged and intense. I couldn't discern if she shared my feelings or if it was merely my own emotions at play. The mood between us had changed, and I felt it deeply. Lewis and I spent time together as always. He laughed and joked, striving to maintain a light atmosphere. It was futile. Laura walked in, and my eyes were drawn to her. I observed the subtle details, her head tilting as she spoke, her eyes lingering on mine for a moment longer than necessary. It was small and barely noticeable, yet I saw it. I experienced it. Saturday arrived. Lewis made plans with his friends, leaving me alone at their place. It surprised me, yet I accepted it. I required the solitude. I needed space to understand my thoughts and feelings. I sat on the couch, scrolling through my phone, when I heard her call from the hallway, "Gary." I stared in disbelief as she stood before me. Her expression revealed nothing. I tried to act casual, but my heart raced. She entered the room, hesitated, then asked, "Can we talk?" The question tightened my stomach. "Sure," I said, setting my phone down. She came over and sat next to me on the couch. We weren't touching, yet the gap felt insignificant. The air was thick. The room seemed smaller. "I've been thinking about our recent talks." Her voice was soft and careful. "And I owe you an apology." I looked at her once more, taken aback. I didn't anticipate this direction for the conversation. I acknowledged my distance. She shared that she had faced some challenges and preferred not to assign blame. I blinked, trying to decipher her expression. "It's acceptable." At last, I said, "There's no need for an apology." She smiled, yet her eyes hinted at doubt. She held back more. "I appreciate it," she said, "but I believe I may have overstepped." My heart races. This was the moment I both feared and hoped for. I didn't know the outcome, but I had to listen to her. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice steady and careful. Laura inhaled and glanced at her hands, pulling at her shirt's edge. "I think you already know," she said softly. "Something exists between us, and I can no longer ignore it." I stood still. Her words hit me unexpectedly, leaving a deep impact. Hearing her say it made it real, palpable, and confusing. "I'm not trying to make this awkward, Gary," she said softly. "I can't ignore this any longer." I looked at her, my thoughts scattered. A deep sense of wrongness filled me, urging me to leave this place. And still I stood there. I wanted to feel normal. "I'm trying to stay calm, but I honestly don't know what you expect from me." She met my gaze, direct and unwavering. We stayed quiet for a long while. The silence was heavy, filled with unspoken words. She reached out. Her hand touched mine, gentle yet charged. It sent a jolt through me. I froze, breathless for a moment. "I sense a connection between us, Gary, and I'm trying to grasp it." She whispered, her gaze locked on me. "There's a connection between us that I'm trying to understand." I refused to. Emotions surged within me suddenly. Guilt, curiosity, desire, fear. I recognized the risks. I understood the consequences of discovery. I felt our connection was undeniable. A part of me wished it would continue. "Are you sure?" I asked, my voice steady. "This is what it is." She nodded, her fingers gripping mine tightly. "I am certain." With that, the line we had been avoiding vanished. We remained silent. Silence filled the space. The air shifted. We sensed the shift, the heaviness of our realization. All was different from then on. 1 year has passed since that night. We kept a secret for a year. A year of juggling daily life with moments of quiet we carved out for ourselves. It seems we've experienced a lifetime in those brief, precious moments. It was barely mentioned. Who we are. It started the night she opened the door, and the towel remained. It simply became part of our lives. It felt instinctive. Yet, it was fragile. Something we held tightly. One thing was clear from the start. Our pleasure was significant. That joy arose from trust. A trust that enables full disclosure yet maintains secrecy from others. We built a small world, a tiny version of reality. The guilt lingered. Each time I encountered Lewis, a nagging thought lingered in my mind. Not because I thought he needed to know. Some thoughts weigh heavily when you're uncertain of others' feelings. I stood firm in my decision. We succeeded. Even in chaos and difficulty, it felt right. Laura and I met whenever possible. Rarely. We stayed within the limit. We kept our distance in the presence of others. It was hardest to act as if Lewis would come. We smile, hands to ourselves, as if nothing is happening, behaving like mere friends. Those small moments, the quick gaze, the discreet smile, the fleeting touch when no one was looking, became everything. That was our bond. In her house, we pondered the consequences of the truth surfacing. No clear plan existed. Vague possibilities and incomplete ideas. We moved on quickly. We stayed in the moment. In the quiet moments where we were free from explanation. A place to exist. A calm Saturday evening. About a year into our relationship, I sat on the couch at Laura's house again. The place where it began. The area stayed calm. Louis was out with his friends, leaving us alone at home once more. Everything seemed normal now, familiar in a previously unknown way. We had adapted to this way of life. Calm, deliberate, and connected. No need for constant discussions about feelings. The relationship became stable and genuine. It was always unconventional. Yet, it became something I couldn't let go of. Laura sat beside me, her beauty undeniable. She now held a softness, an ease in her body, and a calmness in her expression. We learned to carry the weight of our possessions over time. A silent bond existed between us. It brought me peace. I found a way to create a sense of home. Have you considered how we arrived at this point? She asked softly. Her tone, warm and low, shattered the silence. I smiled and settled into the cushions. I always said that. I can't believe we've lasted this long. I glanced at her, my astonishment shifting to a quiet gratitude. It hardly seems like a year has passed. She chuckled softly and rested her head on my shoulder. No, it doesn't, she whispered. Yet, it feels like this has always been home. It was inevitable. I nodded, my hand lightly touching hers. It's strange, I replied. It's a positive kind of strange. I didn't expect my life to turn out this way. I wouldn't change a thing. She tilted her head, locking eyes with me, her expression halting time itself. She replied softly. Same here. Under the circumstances, we did well. I'm relieved we shared this in private. Her voice held strength and certainty. It belongs to us. It belongs to us alone. She was right. That was the key element. It was solely about me. We built this quietly, with care and together. I replied softly, giving her hand a slight squeeze. We feel content. That matters. Silence followed. We didn't need to. We sat together in silence, content without words. The clock ticked softly on the wall. A year went by. A year spent hidden in view. We managed to make it work. The secret remained with us. We safeguarded our possessions. We clung to what mattered most. One another. As evening fell and darkness enveloped the sky, one thought emerged clearly in my mind. This is how I wish things would remain. It fell short. It was chaotic, strange, and challenging. Yet it belonged to us. At times, that was enough.